Good evening, students. Welcome back to your channel where you will be solving science sample papers along with me. So already we covered 3 papers. So this is our 4th paper which we are going to start out. So today I started a little early so that we can complete out the paper within time. From last few days I'm getting very supportive response from everyone. Thank you for commenting continuously and answering the questions along with me. So here we started with the section A. So first question, transpiration is a process of water movement through a plant and its evaporation from aerial part. What is the most significant function of this process for the plant? So what is the most important signification of transpiration? Transpiration, so all of you, most probably those who are appearing for the exam, they'll be knowing that transpiration is a process where there is loss of water from the aerial part. So out of the 4, what is going to be the correct choice? To release excess energy absorbed from the sun. So it's totally wrong. Through transpiration, energy is not released. To create a suction force that pull water up from the roots. So here, if you recall back, during transpiration, water is lost from the aerial part through stomata. To fulfill that space, water is pulled from the lower part. So that pulling is called suction pressure. So which creates a suction pressure through which the water will rise up. So correct answer is option number B. Now coming to the next question. Plant hormone or phytohormones control various growth response. Which hormone is responsible for bending of plant tendrils? So this question is important for even long answers. So which one is responsible for bending of tendril? So here bending of tendrils are done by auxin. For long answer they will ask like where the sunlight falls, auxin will start secreting in opposite direction to that. As a result, there is bending of the plant part towards the sunlight. So here when the tendril touch, take out the screenshot of this answer. This is important for the long answer. You can learn this for even the long answer also. When tendril touches a support, auxin diffuses to the side away from the contact point. This higher concentration of auxin stimulates faster cell growth on the non-contact side, causing the tendril to coil around the support. So it's very important question. So how the tendril is being folded. So here, whenever the tendril comes in contact with the support, auxin will diffuse in the side opposite to the contact point. So wherever the contact point is there, auxin will diffuse just opposite to that. So as a result, there will be high concentration of auxin and the cell growth will be faster and tendril will become coiling around the support. Now the next question, this one was our second question. So let's move with the third question. Exchange of materials between mother and developing fetus is crucial for the healthy pregnancy. This exchange occurs through which specialized tissue? Placenta. You need to learn the definition of placenta. What is placenta? Placenta is a disc-like tissue embedded in the uterine wall that connects the fetus to the mother. So what is placenta? It is a disc-like tissue which is embedded in the uterine wall, which is fixed in the uterine wall, and it fixes the fetus with the mother. It facilitates the transport of nutrient and oxygen from mother to fetus. So take out screenshot of placenta also. This also can be important question which can be asked for the long answers. So what is placenta? So it is a disc-like structure which connects mother with the fetus where it provides nutrient and oxygen to fetus and along with the removal of excretory waste like carbon dioxide and waste product from the fetus. Normal human somatic cell contains 46 chromosomes. So if you recall back, there are two kinds of cells. One is called somatic cell and other is called gametic. So here the somatic cell which helps in the development of body. Somatic cell, how many of these are classified as autosomes? So there are total somatic body contains 46 chromosomes, out of which uh, total how many are classified as autosomes? So there are two varieties, one is autosome and other is sex chromosome. 44 autosomes are there and one is sex chromosome. So one pair of sex chromosome is there and 22 pairs of autosomes are there. So 22 pairs, it will be 44, 22 multiplied by 2. So let's have explanation once. The human cell contains 23 pair of chromosome. 22 of these pairs are autosomes which carry the genetic information for the body. Traits, 23rd pair is consist of sex chromosome which can be either XX type or XY type. XX for the female body and XY for the male one, which determines individual sex. Now next question, ozone layer is a region of Earth's stratosphere. What is the primary importance for the survival of life on the Earth? So here ozone layer, what is the main function of ozone layer? It protects ultraviolet radiation. So here it maintains the planet's temperature or it absorbs the most of sun's harmful ultraviolet radiation. So option number B is the correct answer. Not wasting time in this question as already you all are familiar with ozone layer which protects the ultraviolet radiation. Now if suppose ozone layer is not there, what you can write like? If ozone layer is not there, the ozone layer acts as protective shield absorbing 97 to 99% of the medium frequency ultraviolet rays from the sun. This ultraviolet radiation is harmful and can cause skin cancer, cataract and damage to ecosystem. So what if suppose this ozone layer is not there, what can happen? Harmful radiations will reach to Earth leading to cataract, cancer or damage to ecosystem. Now next to sixth question, consider the following statements about the human excretory system. Kidney are main organs of excretion, filtering waste from the blood. Nephron is the structural and functional unit of kidney. Urine is temporarily stored in ureters before being passed out. See here, this is the wrong statement. Urine is stored in urinary bladder. It's not ureter. The removal of nitrogenous waste like urea from the body is called excretion. So which of the above statements are correct? So here 1, 2 and 4 is correct. Wrong statement is third one, as it is given urine is stored in ureters. Now the next one, seventh question. The common bread mould rhizopus spread rapidly under moist and warm condition. How does it primarily reproduces asexually? So rhizopus, it is a fungus. Fungus reproduces through spore formation. So out of the categories, first one is given budding, budding for yeast, fragmentation for spirogyra, vegetative propagation for vegetative propagation where the body parts are being used like for potatoes or onion, root, stem, and then for rose cutting. So like the different examples are there. Spore formation is for rhizopus fungus. Now assertion reasoning. So once we are reaching to assertion and reasoning question means we are about to complete out the MCQs part here. So the assertion one, the transmission of nerve impulse across a synapse is a chemical process. Transmission of nerve impulse across the synapse is a chemical process. What is synapse? Synapse is a functional junction. Okay, it is a functional junction between two nerve cells, two neurons. Region when the impulse reaches an axon terminal, it triggers the release of neurotransmitter that diffuses across the synaptic gap. So here, assertion and reason both are true and it is correct explanation. Now moving to the next question, we completed 8th one. Both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation. Now assertion, the genetic makeup of father's gamete determines the sex of the human child. So in yesterday's paper, we discussed this question. So child's sex determination is done because of the father's chromosome which is provided. If father provides X, the developing baby will be baby girl. If the father provides Y chromosome, then it will be baby boy. The region human makeup, human males have one X, human males have one X and one Y sex chromosome, while the female have only X chromosome. So both are true and correct explanation. Now coming to the 10th question, so only 9 MCQs we get in the section A of bio part. We completed with MCQ part. Now the question answers being started. So the first question, during hemodialysis, the dialysis fluid is continuously replaced with fresh fluid. Justify why it is necessary step in the procedure for a patient with kidney failure. So this question I feel like you never might be came across. So I'm reading this question. If possible, take the screenshot and learn it. So this is necessary to maintain a steep concentration gradient between the patient's blood and dialysis fluid. So here patient blood, it is impure blood, okay, that is containing nitrogenous waste. So it has to be purified, and the dialysis fluid which contains the pure blood. So waste products like urea move from the high concentration to low concentration. If the fluid is not changed, it will become saturated with waste, reducing the gradient and making the diffusion process insufficient. So why the dialysis fluid has to be replaced? If suppose the dialysis fluid is not being replaced, the impurities will remain and it will make the diffusion process insufficient. So why the dialysis is done? The main reason, to remove the nitrogenous waste. So if the dialysis liquid is not exchanged, means the waste is not removed at all. Now the next question. So here, 11th question, we are having internal choice here. List the 3 key events that occur during the process of photosynthesis and chloroplast of the leaf. So important question of chapter 6, life processes. What are the 3 different events are taking place? So let's go through with that. So first one, absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. Here the 3 steps are there. Absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. Then the second step, conversion of light energy to chemical energy, and splitting of water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen. So this light energy will get converted into chemical energy and splitting of water molecule. Splitting of water molecule we call photolysis of water. So this is also important topic which carried out during photosynthesis. Photolysis means breakdown of water in presence of sunlight. And the third step, production of carbon dioxide to form carbohydrate. Carbon dioxide is being reduced to form carbohydrate. So what are the 3 events taking place here? The first one, okay, the different events which are taking place. The first one, absorption of the light energy by chlorophyll. Second process, conversion of light energy to chemical energy. Third one, reduction of carbon dioxide to form carbohydrate. Now the next question. So the next question was, state the primary function of platelets and plasma in human blood. What is the function of platelets and plasma in human blood? Platelet, their primary function is to help in clotting of blood at the site of injury. So what the function of the platelets? It helps in blood clotting at the site of injury, thus preventing excessive loss of blood. Platelets helps in prevention of excessive loss of blood in blood during injury. And plasma, it is the fluid matrix of the blood that transport carbon dioxide, nitrogenous waste, hormones and food molecules. So in the question it was asked, what is the function of the platelets and what is the function of the plasma? Platelet helps in blood clotting and prevents the loss of blood during injury, whereas plasma, it is the fluid matrix of the blood that transport carbon dioxide, nitrogenous waste, hormones and food molecules. Now the next question, what would be the consequences of an ecosystem if all decomposers such as bacteria and fungi were to vanish? provide two reasons. This is also a very important question. So if all the decomposers will vanish, what could happen? So what is the role of decomposer? They decompose the nitrogenous waste. So if decomposers are not there, then the waste will get accumulate, leading to imbalance. So here, if suppose no decomposers are there, the breakdown of dead organic matter would stop. This would lead to massive accumulation of dead bodies and waste covering the earth's surface. If there is accumulation, more and more waste will get accumulated, and the earth's surface will cover with the dead bodies. The recycling of nutrient would cease. So here there is no recycling of the nutrient. Essential elements like carbon and nitrogen would remain locked in dead organic matter and would not be returned to soil. So no recycling is taking place. So suppose no recycling is there, what will happen? All the carbon dioxide and nitrogen which is trapped in the dead bodies will remain there only. It will not be released back to the soil. So dead organic matter and would not return to soil, air and water, thereby halting the nutrient cycle and collapsing the ecosystem. So nutrient cycle will completely stop and ecosystem will get collapsed, will get damaged. Now question number 13. Explain the phenomenon of phototropism in plant. This question was there in previous paper also. Phototropism in plant. So here, name the plant hormone responsible for this movement and describe the mechanism of action that cause a plant shoot to bend towards the light source. What is phototropism? So in yesterday's topic, we discussed like touch me not plant. So which kind of movement is seen? Touch me not plant, there is nastic movement as it is a response neither towards nor away the stimuli. It is a nastic movement and related to touch, so we call it as thigmonastic. Here they are asking about phototropism, means the movement of plant parts in response to light, towards the light. If the movement is there, we call it as phototropism. Phototropism is a directional growth. Why we call it as directional growth? Because the body part will grow towards light, and the plant hormone responsible is auxin. Mechanism, auxin, this topic, and then the bending of tendril, both the topics are very important. So here auxin is synthesized at the tip of the shoot. When light comes from one side, auxin diffuses towards the shaded side of the shoot. So here when the light comes from one of the direction, auxin will get deposited on the shaded side, the back side. Higher concentration of auxin on the shaded side stimulate the cell to grow longer. So as more and more auxin is released on the shaded side, so more auxin will make the cell to grow longer. On eliminating side, okay, longer than the eliminating side. So this directional growth causes the shoot to bend. So as more auxin is released, it will make the shoot to bend. With this we completed with the 13th question. Now moving to question number 14. 14th question. In monohybrid cross, Mendel observed that crossing of pure breeding tall pea plant with the pure breeding dwarf pea plant resulted in all tall plants. So when the breeding was done with the completely TT, with the dwarf, completely tall plant with completely dwarf plant, so resulted in all tall plant in F1 generation. So there was all tall plants in F1 generation. Um, There is a release of all tall plants in F1 generation. Now, what principle of inheritance is demonstrated by the result of F1 generation? So what we find here? So here the result of F1 generation demonstrates the law of dominance. So you can see that during F1 generation, the ratio is 3:1. That is 3 tall plants and 1 dwarf plant, 3:1. So by seeing that, we can say that And there is inheritance of dominant character, where the triad of the tallness is dominated over the triad of the dwarfness. So here the tallness is dominated over the dwarfness. The phenotypic ratio, pheno means which we can see, phenotypic ratio of tall to dwarf plant in the F2 generation was 3:1. Tall to dwarf is 3:1. Next, the law of segregation. There are two laws here. The law of segregation means the characters never get mixed. So you can see that there will be completely tall plant, there will be completely dwarf plant, but intermixed plants are not there. So completely segregated, they get separated. Law of segregation explains that the reappearance of the recessive trait, it states that the two alleles for the trait separate from each other during gamete formation. So the recessive alleles can recombine to express itself in F2 generation. So here both the traits are getting separated, and F2 generation, the dwarfed triad will again reappear. Now the next question, 15th one. So this compulsory 15th question we are getting in every paper where there is diagrammatic questioning is there. So yeah, diagram below shows the human respiratory system. So like I told you in the previous session, like all the diagrams you need to practice well, like human digestive system, respiratory system, circulatory system, then diagram of nephron. So from there we are getting diagrammatic question. So easily you can score if you go through with the labels from NCERT textbook. Identify the balloon-like structure at the end of the bronchiole. So the balloon-like structure is present at the end of the bronchiole. You can see these balloon-like structures. These are called alveoli. And describe two features that make them ideal for efficient exchange of gases. So what are the two features, two characters they are having? The first one, they have moist skin. So because of that moist skin, they can have efficiency for the exchange of gases, and there is a supplement of blood capillaries. So easily it can have the exchange process. So this is the first one. What is the function of that balloon-like structure they asked? So I'm reading the question so that we can go through with the answers directly. Explain the mechanism of inhalation. Inhalation is the process of taking in of oxygen. And detailing the role of diaphragm and the rib muscle. So here how the inhalation process is taking place, and name the respiratory pigment in human blood. So two pigments are there in your syllabus. One is respiratory pigment which is present in human body, that is hemoglobin, and in plant we have chlorophyll, which is a green pigment present in plant body. So here we need to say about the respiratory pigment and explain the role of transportation of oxygen. So hemoglobin combined with oxygen and it forms oxyhemoglobin. And then oxygen is transported in the form of that. And for mechanism of inhalation, how you can remember? Oxygen is taken in through the nostril. You just imagine like how the gas is entering in the body. Oxygen is taking in through the external nostril, then it passes through nasal cavity. From there it will enter the internal nostril. Then from internal nostril it will pass to, from internal nostril it will pass to pharynx, then larynx. Then from there it will enter into the trachea. Trachea is getting divided into two parts. Bronchus, from bronchus terminates into bronchiole, and finally bronchiole ends with alveoli. So this is the structure. Now how the exchange is taking place. So let's have the detailed reading of answers. So you can have the revision ones here. So what are the two features of the alveoli which make it more effective for the gaseous exchange? So along with me when I'm showing the answer for your revision, you can read it. Large surface area. Millions of alveoli provide an enormous surface area. So here about 80%, 80 meter square surface area is provided. So there are many number of alveoli which are providing large surface area for diffusion of gases, and the thin wall. The wall is very thin. The wall of the alveoli and the surrounding blood capillaries are extremely thin. Wall is very thin and one cell thick, which maximize the diffusion. So first point, many alveoli are there, which are making the diffusion process easy. And the second point, wall is very thin, with the help of which diffusion is carried very easily. Now, inhalation process. What is happening during inhalation? Inhalation, the rib muscles contract, lifting the ribs upward. So the rib muscles are contracting, making the ribs to come upward. So once there will be contraction, the rib will lift upward and outward, coming upward and outward. So when it comes outward, the diaphragm contracts and flattens. So here there is contraction in the diaphragm, that is the last bone, and it will flatten. Both action increases the volume of the thoracic cavity. So here this point you need to learn very properly. Volume increases, pressure decreases. So volume increases in the thoracic cavity, the expansion reduces the pressure. So that's the key point which you need to remember. Volume increases and pressure decreases. As there is less pressure, so air from outside is inhaled. It is pulled inside. Now once it is pulled inside, the diaphragm will again relax, and then the volume will decrease and pressure will increase, just opposite to that. As a result, the air is exhaled out. So reading the answer, the expansion reduces the air pressure inside the lungs compared to the atmospheric pressure, causing the air to rush into the lungs. The respiratory pigment is hemoglobin. So that process got over. Respiratory pigment is hemoglobin, which is present in RBC. Red blood cell, hemoglobin has a very high affinity for oxygen. Very high affinity. It pulls oxygen. In the lungs, it binds with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin. So it is binding with the oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin, and this oxygenated blood is then transported to the body tissue where the oxygen is released. So this oxygen is given to body tissue where oxygen is needed. We completed question number 16. Explain the respiratory pigment of human blood. So that we completed. 16th is over. Now 16th question, differentiate between regeneration and fragmentation as mode of asexual reproduction. What is the difference between regeneration and fragmentation? So regeneration is the ability to grow lost body part, which is not primarily a mode of reproduction. So regeneration we never consider as a part of reproduction, because even in the yesterday's paper we discussed like regeneration. There is not known, like it is not compulsory that the complete organism will get regenerated. So here the lost body part is getting regenerated. So we never consider it to be a part of or a mode of reproduction. Example, lizard's tail. Many times we find that the lizard is losing its tail and it is regenerating back. Okay, now the next question, we are writing the differences between regeneration and fragmentation. So fragmentation is a mode of reproduction where the parent body breaks into pieces. So here the parental body is breaking down into pieces, and then each piece will give rise to new individual. So here where the parent body breaks into pieces and each piece grows into new individual. Example is Pyrogyra. Now the next one, Plasmodium. Plasmodium, a malarial parasite, reproduces asexually by multiple fission. Plasmodium is reproducing by multiple fusion. So here multiple fusion. Inside the host cell, the parent cell's nucleus divides repeatedly to form many daughter nuclei. So what is multiple fusion? During unfavorable condition, a cyst will develop where the organism will, the nucleus will divide many times, and during favorable condition, it will get the cytoplasm and it will blast out to give new individual. So plasmodium is developing by multiple fusion. Even amoeba also develops during unfavorable condition by multiple fission. Now the next one, they are called clone. So let's read the question. Okay, list 2 reasons why offsprings produced by asexual reproduction are often called clones. So why the offsprings are often called clones? So clones means they are the true copies. They look completely alike, look same, okay, without any differences. During asexual reproduction, as a single parent is getting divided, so there is no genetic variation. So both the organisms or the daughter cells will look alike. So they called clones. Now the next question, draw the label diagram of human female reproductive system. State the site of fertilization. So site of fertilization, this was there in the previous paper also. If you recall back, site of fertilization is fallopian tube. Okay, site of fertilization is fallopian tube. And next one, site of implantation. So implantation, once the cell is getting fertilized, once the formation of zygote is taking place, it will get implanted into uterus, uterine wall. So uterus is the site of implantation, fixation, and site of fertilization is fallopian tube. Now, what is menopause? Menopause is the complete stoppage of menstrual cycle, where the female loses the fertility character. Okay, so here, so let's once read these answers from clone onwards. So why the asexually reproduced daughter cells are called clones? They are produced from single parent. Why we call them clone? Because they produce from single parent and they are genetically identical. They look alike. They are genetically identical to the parent, to each and parents and to each other. No mixing of genetic material. So as there is no mixing of genetic material, they look alike. So we call them clones. Now the diagram of the female reproductive system. So that they ask like where the site of fertilization. Oviduct or fallopian tube is the site of fertilization. And the next one, site of implantation is uterus wall. Now, what is menopause? Menopause is a natural and permanent cessation of the menstrual cycle. So, natural and permanent stoppage of menstrual cycle, which typically occurs between the age of 45 and 45 to 55. It marks with the end of women reproductive phase. So, here the woman loses her fertility state. So, this we completed with the section A, bio part got completed. Now, we are moving to section number B. So prior to that, okay, those who are attending, please rejoin again. So I'll restart it.